June 1942. A submarine surfaced off Long Island. 4 men stepped onto American sand in the dead of night. They carried fake documents, thousands in cash, and explosives hidden in their luggage. But one of them was about to make a choice that would expose the entire Nazi spy network in America. What he whispered to the FBI changed everything. And what happened next shocked even the highest levels of the U.S. government. The landing. June 13, 1942. The coast of Long Island, New York. It was past midnight when the German submarine surfaced near the shore. 4 men climbed out onto American soil. They wore German uniforms underneath civilian clothes. Their pockets were stuffed with American money, nearly $175,000 in cash. They also carried something far more dangerous: explosives, timers, detonators. Their mission? To blow up American factories, bridges, and railroads. The leader's name was George Dash. He had lived in America before the war. He spoke perfect English. He knew the streets, the culture, the people. But the moment his feet touched that sand, something inside him changed. He looked at his team. He thought about what they were about to do. And in that moment, he made a decision that would shock both Germany and America. But first, they had to bury their uniforms and disappear into the night. The mission plan. The Nazi plan was brilliantly simple. These weren't soldiers, they were saboteurs. They had been trained for months in a secret school outside Berlin. Their targets were carefully chosen: aluminum plants, train stations, water supplies, hydroelectric dams. If they succeeded, America's war effort would collapse from the inside. The men split into 2 teams. Dash and his partner, Ernst Berger, would head to New York City. The other 2 would go south toward Florida. They were told to blend in, act normal, wait for orders. But something went wrong almost immediately. A young Coast Guard officer was patrolling the beach that night. His name was John Cullen. He saw shadows moving near the dunes. He walked closer. Then he heard voices, German voices. Dash turned and saw him. For a moment, nobody moved. What happened next would determine everything. The encounter. John Cullen froze. 4 strange men stood in front of him in the fog. One of them stepped forward. It was Dash. "We're fishermen," Dash said quickly. "Our boat ran aground." Cullen wasn't convinced. He asked for identification. Dash reached into his coat. But instead of pulling out a weapon, he pulled out cash, hundreds of dollars, right there in his hand. "You didn't see us," Dash said quietly. "Take this. Forget you were here." Cullen's heart was pounding. He took the money. He nodded. Then he turned and walked away. But the second he was out of sight, he ran. He ran straight back to his station and reported everything. Meanwhile, Dash and his team buried their uniforms and explosives in the sand. They changed into American clothes. Then they walked to the nearest train station. By morning, they were in New York City. And that's when Dash did something nobody expected. The confession. Dash checked into a hotel in Manhattan. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the phone. His hands were shaking. He picked up the receiver. He called the FBI office in New York. "I need to speak to J. Edgar Hoover. I'm a German spy and I want to turn myself in." The agent on the other end thought it was a prank. Dash hung up. He tried again. This time he called Washington, D.C. Same thing, nobody believed him. So Dash made a choice. He took a train to Washington. He walked straight into FBI headquarters. He carried a briefcase filled with $84,000 in cash, proof of his mission. He told them everything: the submarine, the landing, the explosives, the names of his teammates. He even gave them the location of the second team in Florida. The FBI was stunned, but one question remained: why did he do it?
The arrest. Within 48 hours, the FBI launched the biggest manhunt in American history. They didn't tell the public, they didn't tell the press. They moved in silence. One by one, they tracked down the other spies. Ernst Berger was arrested in New York. He had also planned to surrender. The Florida team was found hiding in a hotel in Chicago. All of them were captured without a single shot fired. America had just stopped the largest sabotage operation on U.S. soil, and the Nazis had no idea. But back in Germany, Hitler was waiting for updates. He expected explosions, chaos, fear. Instead, there was nothing but silence. The FBI kept the story secret for weeks. They wanted to make sure there were no other sleeper agents. When the news finally broke, Americans were horrified. Enemy spies had walked freely on their beaches, and one man's conscience had saved the nation. The trial. The 8 German spies were put on trial in July 1942. But this wasn't a normal trial. It was held in secret, in a military court. President Franklin Roosevelt himself ordered it. He didn't want the details made public, not yet. The trial lasted just 3 weeks. All 8 men were found guilty of espionage. The sentence? Death by electric chair. Even Dash, even Berger. Dash couldn't believe it. He had turned himself in. He had given the FBI everything. He thought he would be treated as a hero. Instead, he was sentenced to die alongside the men he betrayed. He sat in his cell, waiting for execution. But then something unexpected happened. President Roosevelt reviewed the case personally. He made a decision that would change Dash's fate forever. And what came next shocked the entire country. The execution. August 8th, 1942. 6 of the 8 spies were led into the execution chamber. They were strapped into electric chairs one by one. Within hours, all 6 were dead. It was the largest mass execution for espionage in American history. But 2 men were spared: George Dash and Ernst Berger. Roosevelt commuted their sentences to prison time. Dash got 30 years, Berger got life. The American public was furious. They wanted all the spies dead, no exceptions. But Roosevelt knew the truth. Without Dash's confession, the sabotage mission might have succeeded. Factories could have exploded, bridges could have collapsed, thousands of American lives could have been lost. So Roosevelt made a quiet deal. Dash and Berger would live, but they would never be free in America. Their story would be buried, forgotten. And for decades, it was. The aftermath. Dash served 6 years in prison. In 1948, President Truman released him, but there was a condition. He was deported back to Germany. He would never be allowed to return to America. Dash spent the rest of his life trying to clear his name. He wrote letters, he gave interviews, he published a book. He insisted he was a hero, not a traitor, but nobody cared. In Germany, he was hated as a traitor to the Nazi cause. In America, he was forgotten as just another spy. He died in 1992, alone and bitter. But history remembers the truth. George Dosh's decision on that beach in 1942 stopped one of the most dangerous Nazi operations on American soil. He saved lives, he prevented chaos, and he paid the price for it. Sometimes the line between hero and traitor is thinner than we think. Operation Pastorius remains one of the shocking moments in World War II espionage in America. German undercover agents on U.S. soil, Nazi spies in the U.S. with explosives and cash, saboteurs on American shores during World War II, stopped by one man's conscience. The German spies landing in America could have changed history. Instead, their mission became a warning. If you found this story incredible, hit subscribe for more untold war secrets. History is full of hidden truths.